Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Their Excellencies, the Right Honourable Dame Patsy Reddy, Governor-General of New Zealand, and Sir David Gascoigne.
Kei karakia mā tātou. Tai ea, tai ea. Tai ea tēnei momo, tai ea tēnā momo. Tai ea te whakamānawa. Whakamānawa tia te tokia, tū whakamānawa tia te rau ōrongo. Oi whiwhia te tohu, oi rawea te tohu, oi tamaua te tohu. Tohua taumata rau tia, hi wero, taumai te mauri, haumi e, hui e, tai ki.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. I ngā mana, i ngā reo, i ngā iwi o ngā hoe whā. Tēnei aku mihi mahana ki a koutou. Kia ora tātou katoa. Nau mai haere mai rā ki te whare kāwana. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, warm greetings to you all and welcome to Government House. I specifically acknowledge Air Commodore Mark Brunton, Deputy Chief of Air Force, Michael Webster, Secretary and Registrar of the New Zealand Order of Merit and the Queen's Service Order, our kaumatua, Professor Piri Shasha, and our kuia, Te Rupawai Higgins. Tēnā koutou katoa. It's a pleasure to host this investiture ceremony and bring together 22 recipients, along with their family and friends, to recognise the contributions they have made to our country. As Governor-General, I have the authority and the privilege, on behalf of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the Queen of New Zealand, to hold an investiture for her and to confer the honours to which each recipient is entitled. Ladies and gentlemen, as each one is honoured, I invite you to join me in honouring and thanking them for their service to our country. Hewitt Humphrey will now summon the recipients and read a citation for each one.
Your Excellency, to receive the honour of knighthood and the insignia of a Knight Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit, the Honourable Sir Douglas White of Wellington for services to the judiciary. The Honourable Sir Douglas White was a judge of the Court of Appeal from 2012 until his retirement in 2015. Sir Douglas was previously a High Court judge from 2009 after having practised as a Queen's Counsel from 1988. He was a member of the Preliminary Proceedings Committee of the Medical Council of New Zealand and was the legal assessor to the Disciplinary Tribunal of the New Zealand Institute of Chartered Accountants. He was counsel to the Auditor General in an inquiry into the New Zealand Tourism Board in 1999 and counsel to the New Zealand Law Society in respect of the Law Practitioners Act reform and Lawyers and Conveyancers Act 2006. He conducted inquiries for the State Services Commissioner into the New Zealand Defence Force and Civil Aviation Authority, as well as an inquiry for the Prime Minister into Te Whānau or Waipareira Trust. From 2005 to 2007, he was the legal advisor to Dame Margaret Baisley in relation to the Commission of Inquiry into Police Conduct. He was involved with Victoria University of Wellington from the late 1970s in a range of roles, including Chancellor. He was the convener of the Education Review Office, National Advisory Council on Quality in Education. Mr. White was appointed President of the Law Commission in 2016. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Mr. Graham Wheeler of Lower Hutt for services to the state. Graham Wheeler is the former Governor of the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. He was Economic and Financial Counsellor for the New Zealand delegation to the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, eventually becoming Treasurer of the New Zealand Debt Management Office and Deputy Secretary to the New Zealand Treasury. He held several roles with the World Bank Group, starting as Director of the Financial Products and Services Department, moving on to Vice President and Treasurer, and finally becoming Managing Director of Operations. He led the World Bank's interactions with the IMF on the global financial crisis and represented the World Bank at the G8, G20 Development Committee, International Monetary and Financial Committee, and Financial Stability Forum. He co-founded a company that advised investors and policymakers on Russian privatization. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a Companion of the Queen's Service Order, Mr. David Small of Wellington for services to the state. David Small was the founding Chief Executive of the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, successfully leading the integration of 4 public sector agencies into a business-facing agency. Under his leadership, the Ministry and the economic sector has delivered on a number of government strategies and targets, including the Business Growth Agenda, Better Public Services Result 9, the Economic Development, Regional Economic Development, and Science and Innovation Investment Programs, New Zealand Business Numbers, and the service transformation work to make 100% online services for intellectual property rights and visas for students, work, and visitors. He's advanced a Māori economic strategy through He Kai Ki Aku Ringa, the Māori Crown Economic Partnership. Mr. Small has also been Chief Executive of the Ministry of Economic Development and Deputy Secretary, Energy and Communications Branch. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of an Officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Mr. John Harrison of Littleton for services to music and theatre. As Executive Officer of the New Zealand Brass Bands Association, John Harrison oversaw the National Band of New Zealand competing in the World Brass Band Championships, touring internationally and taking part in the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony. He was Executive Officer of the Royal New Zealand Pipe Band Association and helped bring the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo to New Zealand. He volunteered in various roles at the Court Theatre, served on the Trust Board, and was Secretary and a Trustee of the Court Theatre Foundation. He compiled, hosted, and produced the weekly Band programme on national radio. His long career with Radio New Zealand culminated in his appointment as Executive Music Producer. He was Vice President of the National Music Council and Choirmaster at Littleton's Holy Trinity Church. Mr. Bill Speedy of Auckland for services to philanthropy and water sports. Bill Speedy is the founder and managing director of Ocean Bridge Shipping. The company donates more than $100,000 to charities annually and sponsors the Auckland Anniversary Day Regatta, the Ocean Bridge Sail Auckland Regatta, and the Billabong Grommet Series Children's Surfing Competition in Tauranga. It's also sponsored relief shipping arrangements for air cargo to the Pacific Islands. Mr. Speedy provided logistics support for Emirates Team New Zealand at the America's Cup in Bermuda. He and his wife were integral to the Takapuna Beach Playground project, providing free shipping, customs clearance, and cartage for a container of playground equipment. Mr. Speedy has been an advocate for water safety and water sports at North Shore schools, donating life jackets to Milford School and helping set up a Learn to Sail program at Bayswater Primary. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Mrs. Heather Brunston of Napier, for services to dance. Heather Brunston was the secretary of the Napier National Dancing Society. She instigated the first Highland dancing summer school in New Zealand and organised numerous local dance performances. She's been involved with several forms of dance as an examiner, tutor and adjudicator, has provided free tuition and other support to help dancers reach their potential, and has donated scholarships to the Napier Performing Arts Society annual dance competitions and Pointe Shoes Awards to the Hawke's Bay Ballet and Dance Organisation. She's a former Australasian examiner and New Zealand representative for the British Ballet Organisation. Mrs. Brunston is actively involved with the Australian Teachers of Dance in New Zealand. Mr. Nick Chapman of Wairoa for services to education and conservation. As principal of Nuhaka Primary School, Nick Chapman has supported teachers to expand their roles and responsibilities, driven a diverse education outside the classroom program, and led the upgrade of an outdoor education camp trailer. He was instrumental in the return of the Computers at Home program, the establishment of the Kaupapa Ara Whakapiti Mātauranga computer program, and the Wairoa Assessment for Learning project. He chairs the Eastern Zone School Sports Organisation Committee and the Wairoa Ross Shield Rugby Tournament Organising Committee. He supported ecological education and conservation initiatives. He's a member of the Wairoa Principals Association, the Rural Education Activities Programme, and member support for the New Zealand Education Institute. Professor Sally Davenport of Wellington for services to science. Professor Sally Davenport started as lecturer in the Management of Science and Technology at Victoria University of Wellington in 1991. She was head of the Victoria Management School and an inaugural commissioner of the Productivity Commission. She's been an associate investigator of the MacDiarmid Institute for Nanotechnology and Advanced Materials, and Associate Dean of VUW's Faculty of Commerce and Administration. She was investigator and leader of 3 Foundation for Research, Science and Technology grants and a principal investigator at Te Punaha Matatini. She's the New Zealand correspondent to the International Association for the Management of Technology and leader of the Science for Technological Innovation National Science Challenge. Mr. Neville Peat of Dunedin for services to conservation. Neville Peat has written several books on the natural environment. He established the Dunedin Environmental Business Network and served as its chair. He's been a trustee of the New Zealand Sea Lion Trust, Otago Peninsula Biodiversity Trust, and Hereweka Harbour Cone Trust, and chaired the Otago Natural History Trust. He chairs the Pukekura Tairoa Head Reserves Co-Management Trust Board. He wrote the successful government nomination of the New Zealand Sub-Antarctic Islands as a UNESCO World Heritage Area. Mr. Peat served on the Otago Regional Council and the Dunedin City Council, and was a member of the South East Marine Protection Forum. Mr. Pic Pico of Nelson for services to business. Pic Pico established Pic's Peanut Butter as a one-person, garage-based business selling his product at the Nelson market. The multi-million-dollar business now comprises 2 factories and more than 35 staff, and its products are exported internationally. He's promoted New Zealand business internationally and provided mentoring to numerous start-up business owners. He's a highly regarded member of the Nelson Chamber of Commerce. He's sponsored community organisations in Nelson, including the Brook Waimarama Sanctuary, the Nelson Arts Festival, and Big Brothers Big Sisters of Nelson. Mr. Pico has provided management internships and work experience for students at the Nelson Marlborough Institute of Technology. Father Barry Scannell of Wellington for services to the community and heritage preservation. Father Barry Scannell has ministered in Marist parishes in Hastings, Blenheim, Epsom and Pakuranga. He's parish priest of St Mary of the Angels Church in central Wellington. Following the 2013 Seddon earthquake, St Mary was closed for urgent seismic strengthening work. Father Scannell brought together a group of parishioners and established a plan for strengthening work and how this would be funded. He oversaw the continuation of Sunday Masses in other venues and provided continuous pastoral care for his parishioners until the church was successfully reopened. Father Scannell has supported Maris St Patrick's Rugby Club as chaplain and chaplaincy assistant at Wellington Hospital. Mr. Lloyd Scott of Wellington for services to broadcasting, theatre and television. After holding a variety of roles with the New Zealand Broadcasting Corporation and working as a 2ZM DJ in Wellington, Lloyd Scott branched out into roles in theatre and television. He's appeared in around 80 theatre productions, most recently Wellington Musical Theatre's production of Sister Act. He's featured in iconic Toyota television commercials as Barry Crump's sidekick, Scotty. He was involved with several television shows and feature film productions. Within the radio medium, he's been a commercial DJ, radio drama actor, newsreader, and program host. Mr. Scott retired in 2017, having been a Radio New Zealand presenter for the past 13 years. Mr. Philip Sherry of Papamoa for services to local government and broadcasting. Philip Sherry was a broadcaster and newsreader for Radio New Zealand News, Morning Report, TV1, TV2 and TV3 News and Current Affairs. He's been a North Shore City Councillor and a Takapuna Community Board member and represented the North Shore on the Auckland Regional Council, serving 2 terms as Deputy Chairman, a position he also held on the Bay of Plenty Regional Council. He supported a range of philanthropic causes, including the Macular Degeneration New Zealand Society. Mr. Sherry is active within the Catholic Church and is a Knight of St. Gregory the Great, a Knight of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem, and a Justice of the Peace. Mrs. Pania Tyson-Nathan of Porirua for services to Māori and business. As Chief Executive of New Zealand Māori Tourism, Pania Tyson-Nathan has worked to transform the stereotypical entertainment concept of Māori culture for visitors, focusing on a deeper cultural understanding and a broader range of experiences. She's a member of the Māori Economic Development Board, the Ministerial Advisory Group on Trade, the New Zealand Film Commission Board, and the Kahungunu Asset Holding Company Board of Directors. She was director of the APAC Business Coalition during New Zealand's hosting of APAC and was the New Zealand focal point for the Women's Leaders Network. Mrs. Tyson-Nathan has worked on many fundraising activities with particular focus on the 28th Māori Battalion. Your Excellency, to receive the Queen's Service Medal, Mr. Ian Argyle of Palmerston North for services to outdoor recreation and conservation. Ian Argyle has worked for more than 20 years on a voluntary basis to open walking tracks, the majority of which form part of the Te Araroa Trail National Walkway. He opened the Nainai track, which creates an east-west crossing over the Tararua Range, and led the track creation work, most of which was done manually. The first track he initiated was the sledge track, which he continues to work on through propagating and planting seedlings. He documented the track's history in his book Beyond the Black Bridge, and has published 3 other books on the region. Mrs. Anne Barnett of Christchurch for services to health education. Anne Barnett is the Managing Director of Bounty, a group that provides educational resources to expectant and new parents throughout New Zealand. She established Bounty and has been the editor-in-chief of its 2 annual publications, Your Pregnancy and Your Baby, which are free to the consumer. She financially supports many healthcare professionals through sponsorship for continued education, as well as contributing to numerous charities and community events. Prior to establishing Bounty, Mrs. Barnett worked as a community plunket nurse, servicing low socioeconomic areas in Canterbury. Mr. Philip Craigie of Dunedin for services to music. Philip Craigie has been head of Department Music at Riccarton High School and Otago Boys High School, Deputy Principal of Taieri High School and Principal of Kaikorai Valley College. He's Musical Director of the Mosgiel Brass Band. He's been involved with St Kilda Brass and has been a conductor of the Otago Symphonic Band. He conducted and led the Celebration Singers Choir and was involved with the Otago Secondary School's Music Festival Committee. He organises community music groups and has taught students piano and brass instruments. He chaired the 150th Anniversary Organising Committee for the North Taieri Presbyterian Church. Mrs. Hine Manuel Cohn of Wairoa for services to the community and Māori. Hine Manuel Cohn has been involved with counselling and victim support through Wairoa Alcohol and Drug Centre, Wairoa Victim Support, Wairoa Domestic Abuse Intervention Programme, Te Korowai Awhina Trust, and the Trust's Emotional Freedom Technique Counselling Service. She's a member of the Tātou Tātou branch of the Tairoa Marae Māori Women's Welfare League. She's been involved with Te Kohanga o Taiahoa, the first kohanga reo in Wairoa since its establishment. She volunteers with the Wairoa Citizens Advice Bureau and assists whānau with legal matters and advice through Wairoa Community Law Centre, where she's also a board member. Mrs. Margaret Morrish of Lincoln for services to heritage preservation. Margaret Morrish was a foundation member of the Lincoln and District's Historical Society and serves on its committee. She's honorary secretary and a key contact point for inquiries about the district's history. She helped organise and execute Lincoln's 150th anniversary celebrations. She's acted as librarian and archivist and has developed strong contacts for the Historical Society with local, regional and national heritage networks, including providing support for the establishment of the neighbouring Ellesmere Historical Society. Mrs. Morris has also played a prominent role in the Ellesmere Golf Club, serving on a number of committees and as Lady President. Mr. Jim Nicholas of Blenheim for services to sport and the community. Jim Nicholas has been president of Marlborough Hockey, a Hockey New Zealand councillor and chairman, a hockey player, a regional representative selector, coach, an administrator and an umpire. He's patron of Marlborough Hockey. He's held leadership roles within the Blenheim Club, Marlborough Bowling Centre and Bowls Marlborough. He was a councillor of Bowls New Zealand and helped establish the Bowls Marlborough Board. He supported Blenheim School, Marlborough College PTA, Scouts, Athletics, Probus and the Ostomy Society, and is a member of the New Zealand Foundation for the Blind's Marlborough Branch, RSA, and Blenheim Lions Pakeke Club. Mr. Chana Ranasinghe of Wellington for services to the Sri Lankan community. Chana Ranasinghe has been president and vice president of the United Sri Lanka Association. He led fundraising to help the victims of the 2004 Boxing Day tsunami and the Christchurch earthquakes. He's helped organise ethnic forums with the Wellington City Council and has organised the Multicultural Festival for several years. He worked with Housing New Zealand to organise first home buyer seminars in Wellington to assist new immigrants. He's Vice President of the Multicultural Association of Wellington and an advisor to the Federation of Multicultural Councils. Mr. Ranasinghe has been involved with various organisations locally in Churton Park. Your Excellency, to receive the New Zealand Distinguished Service Decoration, Squadron Leader Rhys Evans for services to the New Zealand Defence Force. Squadron Leader Rhys Evans was appointed Commander of the initial deployment of a C-130 task unit to the Middle East for the period June to September 2016. The New Zealand contingent formed part of an integrated Australian Defence Force Air Mobility Task Group supporting coalition forces in the area. This was the first long-term deployment since 2003 of a C-130 Hercules transport aircraft, its crew and support team. In light of this, the newly promoted Squadron Leader Evans led an intensive pre-deployment preparation regime to close gaps in experience and knowledge to facilitate a deployment of this magnitude. Further training and preparation followed on arrival in theatre with the aim of ensuring that effective flight operations could be conducted over both Iraq and Afghanistan. Under his leadership, the detachment completed 98% of their assigned aircraft missions, an extremely high success rate for the harsh environment in which they were operating. The work output and trust he and his team generated within the coalition enabled the Australian Defence Force to withdraw one of their C-130 aircraft earlier than scheduled. Squadron Leader Evans' leadership and achievement as a relatively junior officer in a key operational appointment was recognised by his coalition colleagues and brought credit to the New Zealand Defence Force. Your Excellency, the investiture is concluded.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, an investiture ceremony is the most important event I hold on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen of New Zealand. It allows me, as Governor-General, to recognise and thank an extraordinary group of people on behalf of all New Zealanders. By using their talents to make ours a better society, whether by service to their communities or by their leadership in diverse fields of endeavour, or their commitment to excellence in their own field of expertise, our recipients have set a fine example to others, encouraging them in their own endeavours. To the recipients, it has been a privilege today to hear your stories. You have demonstrated determination, perseverance, commitment and compassion in your daily lives. In your own way, each of you has helped to make New Zealand a better place to live. In some cases, your influence and the positive impact of your work has extended beyond our shores. The actions and stories we have heard reflect the spirit of the words of another great New Zealander, Sir Paul Callaghan, when he said, "What greater sense of fulfilment can there be but to make a difference in the community in which you live?" Your contribution has enriched the cultural, social and economic fabric of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Please wear your insignia with pride, knowing that your communities appreciate and value the impact of your work and are inspired by your example. On behalf of the Queen of New Zealand and all New Zealanders, I congratulate you on your achievements and thank you for your service to our country. Kia ora hui hui tātou katoa. Ladies and gentlemen, that almost brings to a close the formal part of today's ceremony, but before we invite you through for refreshments, may I ask you to stand and we'll sing the national anthem in Māori and in English.